Hello, and welcome to the podcast Shedding Candlelight on Cryptids, Hauntings, Mythology, and more. If it is weird, we are talking about it. This is your host, LeeDawna, and if you would like to see a video version of the show, you can find it on Spotify and YouTube. Just look for the Immortal Monsters podcast on the platform of your choice. You can also watch or listen to the show on Patreon, where there are bonus episodes, early releases, and you get access to all of my ebooks and audiobooks. Just go to patreon.com/LeeDawna. The resources for today's episode are in the show notes for you. And in case the resource links are not clickable through your listening platform, just look for the link that will take you to a blog on my website where all of the links are clickable, or at least they should be. It's a well-known fact that I have no idea how the internet works or technology of any kind for that matter. So before we jump into the show, I want to take a moment to thank you for your support. I really appreciate the way all of you are sticking with me. You've been so kind, and I do hope that you are seeing and hearing improvements in the show. Today, we are going to finish up our twin tales. If you have not listened to part one, you might want to do that before jumping into this episode, because there are many types of twins, and we discussed the varieties of them on the last episode. Specifically, monozygotic twins. These are the identical twins forming when one single fertilized egg splits into two embryos. At what stage the egg splits and whether or not it fuses back together later determines what type of monozygotic twin you end up with. The stage at which the egg splits also determines how close of a bond the twins will have. But fraternal twins, the dizygotic twins formed when two separate eggs are fertilized by two separate sperm during the same event, have strong bonds as well. This is because twins of any variety begin communicating with each other while in the womb. One study found that by the 14th week of gestation, which is about 3.5 months, the twins make specific movements toward one another. These movements are intentional, and researchers know this because they've caught the movement on MRI scanning. Some of the movements give the appearance of the twins fighting for space, but researchers do not believe this is what's happening. Because while space and nutrition are limited in the womb, and humans are mammals with an instinctual will to survive, what researchers are documenting is that the twins have a general awareness of each other. They are reaching out for one another, touching, making intentional movements and gestures toward one another in order to connect. This behavior speaks to another instinctual part of humanity, which is the very need for connection. Now, I am the true definition of a loner, as in I cannot be around people all the time. It's draining. So for as much as I truly do like people, it's imperative that I have alone time each and every day. But at some point, maybe not every day, because I can handle some long stretches without having to interact with anyone. But there comes a point, even in the life of someone like me, when there is a craving for human interaction. True loners, people like myself, are rare. But the term loner gets thrown around a lot, and it usually carries a negative implication because it's used to depict people seen as social outcasts rather than being used correctly to define someone who thrives in a solo space. So to be clear, wanting interaction but not getting it because of people and circumstances around you does not make you a loner. It makes you a regular human dealing with people and circumstances around you. I am making this point because, again, even the truly rare subset of humans who are wired to thrive alone will seek connection at some point. For twins, no matter how they're formed or how they are wired, there is no seeking. Their companion is with them from the point of conception. And by about the 18th week of gestation, around 4.5 months, those touches and movements we talked about earlier become more frequent. This is what's thought to be the beginning of the deep bond that twins share, the physiological and psychological connection born from these embryos developing alongside one another. Twins often report finding comfort when they are in physical proximity of each other. Parents and researchers alike back up this claim. Dr. T. Barry Brazelton noted a case where a particular 3-month-old twin appeared disoriented when her twin sister was removed from the room. Later, whenever this infant heard her sister's voice, she would stop whatever she was doing, calming and listening to the sounds her sister was making. Parents and researchers also note that in addition to twins being born already in sync with one another, they begin to really interact as a duo at about 3 years of age. I don't know if I consider this specifically unique because the toddler stage is when all babies begin to interact with the world around them. And you're going to observe some of the same behavior in non-twin children that you do in twins. Things like one child following another or wanting to play with the same toy as another toddler. But one thing that is more unique is that twins seem to understand each other, even when what the rest of us hear is only babbling. This is most likely a result of the communication twins had in the womb. Many researchers think this early socialization gives twins a leg up when it comes to their overall development, much the same way that having an imaginary friend boosts levels of emotional and social understanding for other children. I did a Patreon show on imaginary friends, so if you're interested in that topic, the frequency of it, the benefits, go check out my Patreon because much like having an imaginary friend, twins develop their social skills by having a constant companion. I've heard parents talk about their infant twins having conversations with one another, and there are many documented cases of this happening. One infant twin will make noises, stop, and then the other twin will make noise, and basically it goes back and forth, sounding like a conversation, even though the children are across the room from one another and in their own cribs. Obviously, parents can't understand what's being said because these infants haven't learned the language their parents speak. All these children know is their own language, their twin speak that they've presumably been developing since their time in the womb. I'm convinced twin speak is a very real thing, not only because of the many accounts I've heard directly from parents, but because I was on a 24-hour flight one time, a form of torture I do not recommend you ever do to yourself, especially if there are twins on board, because the toddler twins, all of the passengers on my flight were stuck with for nearly a full day, screamed for the vast majority of the flight. We are talking glass shattering, shrieking. I felt bad for the parents and for their other child, a little girl a few years older than the twins. But the twins, I ended up having no sympathy for whatsoever because they were not having any issues. They were purposefully screaming like it was a fun little game for them. I know this because I had a very good seat from which to watch these cute little girls. One of them would scream and carry on, no tears, no being calmed by anything anyone did for her, just screaming. Then the other twin would move into the screaming sister's line of sight, do this little grin, and that first child would stop shrieking, settle into whichever parent's lap that she was in, and probably take a nap. I don't know because I could not see what they were doing when they were not standing up there screaming like banshees. But as soon as the first twin would stop screeching, the second one would immediately start up. The decibel at which these children would scream was eardrum rupturing. It was horrible. And again, if I wasn't able to see what was happening, I would have felt so bad for these poor babies. But I saw what they did, and these kids are probably middle school age now. So if by chance they are listening to the show, I would like to say, I saw what you did, and so did your big sister. I hope she's paid you back by now. Having a constant playmate allows twins to practice and grow their social behaviors. They develop skills like the art of negotiation, sharing toys, building relationships, and this often leads them to being more confident than other children. This aids in them becoming leaders and teachers for other children when they begin intermingling with others in daycare or school. In cases where toddler twins are placed into groups of single-born toddlers, experts have documented that the twins will often initiate group play. And even without the ability to communicate via speech, they can end up teaching the other kids different tricks, like, say, maybe how to work together in order to get their hands on that cookie jar. So, because they have a co conspirator, twins are often reported to be devious from an early age, as exampled by the twins I was on an airplane with. But what twins are really doing is learning to cooperate with a partner because they aren't only deeply bonded by the space they shared in the womb, and they aren't only just born in sync. They are often kept in sync after birth because parents typically have only one routine and one schedule that covers both twins, or at least through the early years of their lives. This can't really be helped, especially in the nonverbal years. As a parent, you are going to have your newborns and your toddlers on some form of a schedule as far as eating and sleeping are concerned. And that schedule is going to reflect whatever schedule the parents and the caregivers are keeping. And for twins in those nonverbal years, you also don't yet know what each of their individual interests will be. And despite their deep bonds, twins do, in fact, have different personalities. One twin can be more aggressive than the other, and they suffer from the same thought patterns as all humans do. One twin can grow up feeling that their sibling is the favorite child, especially when one twin is good and easy natured, and the other is a bit of a troublemaker. As is the case with the Native American twins, Glooskap and Mousimus. These twins are in the mythology of several tribes, and Glooskap is a cultural hero of the Algonquin-speaking people of North America, the Wabanaki. There are variations on the myth surrounding these twins, but some of them say that these twins were made from the dust that had built up on the creator god's hands. Glooskap was then responsible for making all of the good things in the universe, like the air, the earth, animals, and he even made people. His brother Mousimus, being evil, created mountains, valleys, snakes, stinging insects, and all manner of things that are a bother to humans. Throughout the different stories, Glooskap is portrayed as a protector of the natural world. He is kind, benevolent, a warrior against evil, and the possessor of magical powers. One legend says that when Glooskap was finished painting the splendor of the world, he dipped his brush into a mix that embodied all of the colors and created his favorite island, what we know today as Prince Edward Island. Mousimus, on the other hand, is portrayed as an agent of disruption, making chaos and disrupting the natural state of things in order to make life difficult for humans. He is seen as a malevolent spirit, a god of chaos, who uses his powers of evil and trickery to bring about the end of mankind. Now, as is my understanding, much of the lore surrounding Mousimus in particular is debated. Some say he isn't inherently evil, which is in line with what I understand the Native American beliefs to be. They see their deities or spirits as complex, the way humans are complex, and we each possess the ability to do good or to do great harm. So if you are an evil twin, repent of your wicked ways. And then you go out there and you give your good twin a run for their benevolent money. You can do it. I believe in you. If you know twins, you have probably heard them talk about having what would commonly be called today a parapsychological event. Things like being able to feel the emotions of their twin, even from halfway around the world. Twins report being able to pinpoint the exact moment their twin experienced physical pain, and in many unfortunate cases, a twin claims to know the exact moment when their twin died. There are also multiple stories of medications being administered to one twin during a medical procedure and the other twin feeling the effects of the medication. In some reports, the medication doesn't even affect the twin who is getting the procedure, as if that twin somehow passed all of the effects of the drug off to their twin. So when it comes to twin telepathy, there is plenty of anecdotal data to support this being a real thing, and you don't have to look far to find it. This supporting evidence goes well beyond a twin's ability to correctly choose the same drink or the same color of Lego as their twin. This undeniable connection experienced by these unique humans is why books, mythology, religion, and the internet are full of reports about twins and the manifestations of their mysterious bonds. Science might not be yet able to quantify these reports, but today's science is only as good as today. What we don't understand on this day may be common knowledge next week. What we believe to be an absolute truth today may be proven wrong tomorrow. So let's discuss some examples of the twin connection being proven out, and not only in twins who grew up together, but in those separated at birth, who then grew up having no idea they even had a twin. Like the Jim twins of Ohio, separated at birth, both boys were named James by their respective adoptive parents. This could be a coincidence, or it could be that these twin boys had some sort of influence over their adoptive parents. In 1979, the two Jameses, who coincidentally both went by Jim, found each other. These men were 39 years old then and had the same height and the same weight. They both also worked as deputy sheriffs, drove the same make and model of car, married women named Linda, who they later divorced, only to each then marry women named Betty. And upon talking through their individual lives, they learned that at the age of 18, both men developed tension headaches. They also both had dogs named Toy. If Toy was a common dog name, I would let that slide. But Toy is a name I personally had never heard of until I read about the Jim twins. So these two men choosing that name independently of each other is odd at the very least. They also found out that they each routinely vacationed along the same stretch of beach in Florida. They both named their firstborn son James Allen, with the only difference being that the one son's middle name was Allen with one L and the other was Allen with two L's. In my opinion, there is absolutely no way that all of that is just a coincidence. And I don't buy into a phenomenon like the Jim twins being simply a matter of a likeness of mind. It's more like these twins were missing part of themselves, feeling what the other was feeling and gravitating toward anything in their surroundings that brought them closer to their twin. Not knowing they even were twins, they could not have understood that they were having a psychic or telekinetic connection to anyone. Their life choices would have seemed wholly their own. But when I look at the research done on these twins, I feel a great deal of sadness. The cultures describing twins as being two halves of the same soul seem to be proven out in cases like the Jim twins. It seems to me that these two halves searched for each other for 39 years. In 1975, Ross McWhirter, who founded the Guinness World Records with his identical twin Norris, was shot and killed. Norris later wrote about his twin's murder, saying, "I felt that I was about to be reborn, not as half a person, but as a double person." In many cultures, such as the Yoruba, that we'll talk about a little bit later, twins are viewed as having one soul. This soul being shared between the two bodies. If one should die, it is considered bad luck for the parents and the society to which that twin belongs. Therefore, when a twin dies, parents hire a babalawo, a high priest, or as it is translated in the Yoruba language, a father of mysteries. This high priest will carve a wooden ibeji, a twin that will represent the deceased twin. In other cultures where the same belief is held, a doll is made to represent the deceased twin. The reason being the same no matter what is used, because these cultures believe that the soul of the deceased twin will live inside the ibeji. And they further believe that if this doll or representation of the dead twin is not made, the living twin is in danger of dying too, because the living twin is now missing half of its soul. And anecdotally, at least, there are reports of this very thing happening. If you've lost a twin, there are support groups available to you. These are groups specifically for twins, so you will be with people who understand what you're going through, because while grief is different for all of us, research shows that the loss of a twin is only comparable to the loss of a spouse or a partner, and only if those relationships are lifelong or at least long-term. I will link to the Twinless Twin support group in the show notes, and their website is twinlesstwin.org. I interpret Noor as saying that he felt as if he was about to be reborn, not as half a person, but as a double person, as Norris acting himself as the Ibeji, absorbing his brother's soul into himself. And an idea like this one isn't so far-fetched. If you believe in having a soul that will live on after you are gone, either through being reincarnated or sent off to some different plane of existence like heaven or hell, then it is not a stretch at all to believe in a spirit's ability to possess or be absorbed by a person or an object. Most religions incorporate some form of possession, and the Ibeji principles are basically a concept of possession. On April the 2nd, 1781, Methodist founder John Wesley wrote about a set of twins in his journal, saying that between them, there is so strange a sympathy that if either of them is ill or particularly affected at any time, the other is so likewise. In 1961, 3 psychologists questioned sets of twins on whether or not they had ever experienced telepathy and found that around 35% of them had. In 2004, the Twin Research Unit of King's College in London, with the largest number of twins on their registry, sent out a poll asking these twins if they ever felt the ability to know what was happening to their twin. Out of 5,513 responses, 15% or 827 of them said yes, and 39% or 2,150 of them said it was possible. So I hope King's College is now teaching twins how to tap into their unique power, because when it comes to understanding the full human potential, twins are ground zero. Researchers at the University of Indiana have studied thousands of twins, noticing that the stage at which the embryos split directly correlates with how close the twins become after their birth. This could be the variation we see in why some twins experience a telepathic connection and others do not. In 1963, a pair of ophthalmologists claimed that when the alpha brain rhythm was artificially induced in one twin, the brainwave chart, or the EEG, of the other twin showed the same rhythm at exactly the same time. In 1967, a team from Rockland State Hospital reported that using a plethysmograph to measure blood volume, they observed psychological reactions in one twin at the precise moment at which the other twin was stimulated. The University of Copenhagen used polygraphs to record the reactions of twins when said twins were separated in different rooms, and one twin was subjected to various sounds, surprises, and stimuli, such as electric shock or having an arm plunged into ice water. Another similar study was done, with the conclusion being that the testable physical reaction of the twins was obvious. In addition to feeling what their twin is feeling emotionally and physically, as well as making choices as if they are in fact one soul split between two bodies, twins often have the same dreams. I talked to a twin about this very thing because I have a deep-rooted fear that was born from me having the same dream as my mother. From what I recall, we both woke up around the same time with an eagerness to tell the other about our terrifying dream. In said terrifying dream, a big black jumping spider was sitting on top of our house and sticking its hairy legs through the windows trying to get us. Before that dream, I had no fear of spiders. I would catch them, let them walk on my arms. I had no fear. After that dream, full-blown arachnophobia set in part, it was because having the same dream as my mom was just an added level of creepy. But while nine twins having the same dream is rare, it does happen, usually between mothers and children or husbands and wives. Any two people who are close and dealing with the same types of scenarios in life, they can have dreams with similar content. But like they do with everything else, twins level up the dreaming process by actually sharing the exact same dream, as in they are dream walkers visiting each other in their dreams. In her dissertation, Marjorie H. Runyon reported an account of dream sharing where a set of twins who were sleeping next to each other dreamt the exact same dream, only with each of them experiencing the dream from their own points of view. One twin dreamt that she went to tell her sister that she was not getting married. Her twin dreamed that her sister came to her to say that she was not getting married. Runyon's dissertation also included an account of a twin who had a detailed recurring nightmare in which he was driving at night and got into an automobile accident that took his life. He was so bothered by this nightmare that he was at the point of not wanting to drive at night. Then his brother, driving after dark, was in an automobile accident that took his life. So this surviving twin had had a premonition of his brother's death. And this particular gift of seeing the future is something that is associated with twins throughout mythology. So what came first? Twins with seemingly special abilities or the legends surrounding them? Think about that while we talk a little more about twin dreams, because using a standardized rating system, Runyon went on to compare frequencies of various content items across the dreams of twins and the dreams of singletons, finding that some 44% of twin dreams contain the other twin as a character in their dreams. Single-born humans do not frequently dream of their siblings, with only about 19% of the characters in singleton dreams being family members of any sort. Given that dreams of twins are often about their twin, it isn't surprising that social interactions in twin dreams are more friendly than what you see in singleton dreams. Friendliness appeared in 66% of the twin dreams, but only in 42% of the singleton dreams. Most interesting, perhaps, was the finding that 76% of twin dreams took place in unfamiliar settings, while only 38% of the singleton dreams did. Why? Why should twins dream of unfamiliar surroundings far more than singletons do? Your guess is presumably as good as anyone else's. Maybe twins are more creative than the rest of us, or maybe they are connected to the wisdom of the gods. Maybe, just maybe, twins have a parapsychological ability that allows them to tap into the very fibers of the world around them. Now, hear me out, because in my last episode, I plainly stated that twins, especially the chimera variety, should not be put in cages and experimented on. But twins, especially identical twins, have so much to teach us. The problem is that science hasn't progressed to the point of being able to explain the mysteries of twins. Scientists don't even know why a single fertilized egg is prompted to split into two separate embryos. So, as I said earlier, when research is done and a conclusion is made that the phenomenon of twin telepathy is simply a matter of commonality, I don't put much weight on that finding. What I value is speaking to twins and not only hearing their stories, but getting corroboration from others on what they saw or heard concerning the events the twins describe. And twins around the world are telling the same types of stories. So I get that when science doesn't know, they call foul. I also understand that in religious circles, there are many things that are taboo to speak about. People will adamantly deny believing in ghosts, but wholeheartedly believe in their spirits living on after death. Most people are not connecting what they believe or what they are taught to believe with any of the so-called paranormal beliefs. but religions are peppered with stories of anything from donkeys speaking to spirits coming back to warn or possess people. So I don't think it's prudent to dismiss the unexplained, especially if we are not going to categorically do so. Science might not be able to describe how one twin can get a busted eye or a broken rib, and the other twin ends up with bruising in the area coinciding with their twin's injury, but the absence of an explanation does not a falsity make. And when we trace back through time, studying cultures, religions, and mythology, we find twins represented over and over and over again. Why? Why such a fascination with twins? Why, for example, do so many cultures incorporate twins in their origin stories? Why do religions symbolize twins in their doctrine? Why is mythology chocked full of all manner of twins? It's hard to find ancient accounts of twins that are not connected to myth or religion, but I submit to you that the very reason twins are prominent and usually depicted as having some sort of heightened ability is because through the ancient ages, people took note of the same parapsychological phenomenons that we see today. This made them both fear and revere twins. Thus, legends were born, and now there is no shortage of twins in mythology and religion. One of them, the Yoruba religion, with traditions that are still present today in modern Haitian voodoo, has been known as a cult of twins because of the high value they placed on twins in their culture. The Yoruba originated in an area around present-day Nigeria, and they are one of the largest ethno-linguistic groups in Nigeria, with their influence spread throughout the world. What's interesting about them is that according to a 2002 paper, the Yoruba culture has the highest rate of fraternal twins in the world. I spoke about the birth rate of twins in my last video and about how the high frequency of twins in Nigeria has been chalked up to the diets of women in that region. But at one time, despite the high number of twins, the Yoruba culture did not revere twins. They subjected them to the elements, killing these children because they were considered a curse. But between 1650 and 1800, there was a shift from twins being seen as curses to them being revered. This is likely due to the influence of a neighboring kingdom where twins were not only celebrated as blessings, but the parents were honored, and they oftentimes became wealthy because of the many gifts they received. So it's interesting that the Yoruba culture would now be seen as a twin cult after they were once persecutors of twins. It's easy enough to speculate on why the twins would have been seen as a curse, but I would like to go back to my earlier thoughts because I believe people have always known there is a magical quality to twins. This means that maybe twins are seen as curses because the family couldn't afford to feed the extra mouths. Or maybe it was because these children were going to grow up exhibiting connections with each other and possibly even the world around them that would cause people in their communities to be afraid of them. We know that fear is a great motivator of behavior, and I'm not entirely sure how much the belief structure was changed between 1650 and 1800, meaning some of the mythology certainly predates this period. So as we go through what the Yoruba people believe, consider whether or not any particular bit could be tallied on either side of the cultural shift. In other words, can two people take the same set of facts and come up with two different reactions? Can one be afraid and want to destroy the source of their fear, and the other be in awe and want to preserve the source of their wonder? In the Yoruba culture, twins are special. They are not only believed to be magical, but they are said to be granted protection by the Orisha Shango. Orisha being a deity in the Yoruba religion, and Shango having many manifestations, being an ancestor of the Yoruba people. Shango is one of, if not their greatest ruler. He is known for his powerful double axe and is said to have control over thunder, lightning, and fire. So twins are dedicated to the Orisha Shango, and in the Voodoo religion, they are also protected by the Marasa, who are ancient twin spirits. Now, the Marasa are much more complicated than what I just described, and I will link to a YouTube video where a lady who I believe is an actual voodoo practitioner breaks down the Marasa. I am not a scholar in any of the topics I discuss, and that's why the show notes are so important and why I want to make sure you guys have access to clickable links so you can easily go fact check me and also get lost down your own rabbit holes of information. Because much like in the Yoruba culture, the Haitian culture considers twins a sacred gift. And in the lore and myth of both cultures, twins are believed to share one soul between them. As we talked about earlier, if one twin should die, it's believed that the other is in danger of dying unless an abeji or some other representation of the deceased twin is made. Therefore, twins are diligently cared for, and it is generally believed that they bring happiness and good fortune to their families. However, twins are considered temperamental, and if they should grow angry, their families are in danger of having really bad luck. So they spoil the twins. They are lenient with them and show them a great deal of respect. Twins in these cultures are also part of many rituals throughout their lifetime, from the naming ceremony, which happens 7 days after birth and includes invitations to all of the other twins in the community as well as their families, to marriage ceremonies where twins are married on the same day wearing matching clothing. In the Yoruba culture, twins are dressed alike and fed the same foods, especially during their ceremonies, as a representation of the one soul they're thought to share. In the YouTube video I mentioned earlier, the host at the channel Chronicles of a Zoe spoke about how her parents instructed her to always give the exact same gift to twins so as not to upset the balance. I imagine behaviors like this are annoying to twins because they are, in fact, individuals. But when so many cultures and religions believe you are linked to the divine, you can't expect us mere mortals to behave appropriately. According to Europe's Journal of Psychology, about 2/3 of the people in the United States believe in ESP. ESP is extrasensory perception, and it includes telepathy, precognition, and clairvoyance. 3 themes often connected to twins throughout the many layers of mythology. 3 themes still displaying themselves in twindom today. So once again, I believe humans are remarkable and that twins, especially identical ones, have a greater disposition for the parapsychological because of something mysterious in the way they are formed. I hope that somewhere in the world there is an X-Men style mansion where twins are free to come and go, but where they are learning to tap into their abilities. Because we saw in the results from King's College that over 2,000 twins reported possibly having had a telekinetic moment with their twin. If they don't know what to look for and they live in a world where anything paranormal or parapsychological is scoffed at, then it's easy for them to dismiss their experiences. It would be better if we accepted that science is ever changing and that we simply do not know what we do not know. Twins are amazing. Take that as you may. And while you're at it, like, subscribe, and rate the show. You can find me on social media using some form of LeeDawna, or just look for the links on my website, leedawnabooks.com. If you are a twin and you would like to share a personal story with me, or if you are a plain old regular person like myself, but you still have a story to share, you can send that tale to leedawnabooks@gmail.com. It is patreon.com/LeeDawna if you would like a bonus episode each month. I might be slow giving you a shout out, but that's only because I bulk record and I had some of these videos ready to go before I even launched the podcast. This whole thing is a work in progress. I'm slowly finding the right groove, and in our upcoming groove, you can expect a lot of myth and lore, but I will also take requests. again, those are piling up, and I promise you I'll get to them eventually. And as I said in the beginning, I appreciate your patience, your kindness, the encouragement, and your willingness to let me get my podcasting feet wet. You guys are the best, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your month. I will see you next time, or in my dreams if you are a dream walking twin.
Immortal monsters.